right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm coming to you from my office here in Cornelius, and we have a young man. I'm going to go ahead and say he's young. A young man with us today. His name is Dennis Conner. If you didn't know that, where have you been? He's been a fixture at Carolina Bible Camp for quite a few years, and I've gotten to know him a lot, especially over the last couple of years being on the board with him. It's been a true blessing learning from him and everything. But Mr. Dennis Conner, he is a namesake. He is everything for CBC. It's just a wonderful time to get to spend a few minutes with him. And with this 49 days of CBC, it's been a true blessing listening to the memories of all these put in, not just years, but decades in your case. And so, Dennis, here we are. It's the beginning of week 6. I know you. I know of the day that we sat there and made this decision that we had to cancel camp and the heartbreak that it was. So what's it feel like now, brother?
It's weird. It's really, it's just really, really weird, strange. It's been well, since 1963, CBC is always where I've been. This is the first year since then that I haven't been at camp.
When you said that the day at the board meeting, and man, that ripped my heart out, brother.
Yeah, it was the very first year I went to camp, 1963. I was 8.5 when I went to camp. I turned 9 during the week.
All right.
And I was such a finicky eater. I almost starved to death. If it had been for the canteen, I don't know what I would have done.
Wow. Now, where was this at?
This was at Camp Haines.
All right.
And I almost did not go back the second year.
Oh, yeah?
Almost did not, but my mom talked me into it, and I went back, and it's history. A lot of history.
A lot of history. Now, with your experiences, now who was directing back then?
Oh, the legend.
The legend.
H.R. Butler.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. H.R. Butler.
You knew him in his prime then, huh?
Knew him in his prime and his subprime. Yeah.
Well, how many?
HR was an intimidating figure back in those days to little kids. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow. And he never changed. From the day I met, from that first time at camp, 1963 till 30 years later, to me, he looked the same. Yeah.
Was he wearing those loafers then?
Always, and his pants pulled up above his belly button.
Well, how many people were at camp there when you were there in 1963?
Back then we were doing 2 weeks, and for the 2 weeks, we would total around 250, 260 campers. So about 130 a week, I believe.
Good. Yeah. Wow. Now, how many of those kids that were there at camp with you are you still friends with today?
2.
2 of them. And who are they?
I can't remember anybody from that first year, but the second year, it actually might have been the third or fourth year when I was at camp. But I met these 2 guys named Jeffrey Sykes and Jonathan Seaman, and we've been friends ever since. I think that might have been 1964, 65, 66, somewhere along there, but been friends, over 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the old videos and stuff y'all made from way back when.
Yeah,
put them on the website. I think that'd be good. People get a good laugh out of that.
Yeah. Jeffrey has all of those. We should do that.
Yeah. And what was the commercial with HR Cordova?
Oh yeah, Cordova Chrysler commercial. Yeah. At the end of each video, he'd sing the Cordova jingle.
Oh.
Yeah. Except instead of saying Cordova, he always said Cordoba. He got it wrong. We didn't have the heart to tell him.
Oh, that's pretty good. Well, so you've been going to camp since 1963. We want to try to count up those summers. But when you think back to all of those summers that you've experienced Carolina Bible Camp, what was probably your favorite location?
Oh, well, prior to Moxville,
Right.
unquestionably, it was campaigns.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that was the quintessential camp. It was at the base of the Saratown Mountain, in the middle of the Piedmont. You got this big mountain.
Yeah.
And we could hike up there to the top of the mountain. I mean, it had a big lake, no swimming pool, but we had this huge lake that we swam. And the cabins were really rustic.
Yeah.
But comfortable, and it was the place. And several years after that, I think it was 1973 was our last year at Camp Haynes. It was a YMCA camp. Then we had to start moving around because they wanted to go full time.
Right.
Use it full time for just YMCA purposes, and we started hiking all over the state. And some places weren't too bad, some places were horrible. And when I say horrible, that's exactly what I mean. Sometimes, Andy, people come, they see our camp in Moxville, and they say, "Well, man, this is luxury. This is not camp." And I just tell folks, we paid our dues. We paid our dues. We went to one camp up near Waynesville called Camp Shaw. Mm-hmm. And up in the Boys, it was an old camp owned by the Fraternal Order of Police. I think that's the only reason it wasn't shut down by the health department. And we would, in the boys' showers, if you had more than 2 boys taking a shower at the same time, the sewer system started backing up, and there would be raw sewage in the bottom of those showers. That's how bad some of those places were.
Wow. Yeah. Is that the one with the little cabins up in the woods?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He took me up there a couple of years ago and showed me. I was like,
beautiful setting up in the mountains, but yeah, we were there 2 seasons and then moved on.
Oh, well, when you think about all those places that you visited, and as camp moved, and you saw a lot of growth in Carolina Bible Camp through the
from 2 weeks to 7 weeks.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So all these years, what keeps you coming back each year?
Well, and that's easy. That's easy, and it's the big money that they pay me as a director.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In fact, I think I make 1 more zero than you do.
Okay.
So that's that. It's
that's experience. That's the experience talking right there. That's what.
It's it's the friendships that that have been maintained through the years. But the bottom line is it's the kids.
Yeah.
It's the kids. That's what it's all about. And sometimes how it is. Sometimes you get a staff person who wants to come up there and kind of play around, have a good time. They're treated as a vacation.
Yeah.
And one of the things that H.R. Butler taught me was that we're not here for ourselves. We're here for the kids. So you expect to work for the kids. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's what keeps bringing you back, bringing all of us back as directors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how attached we get to our staff and our friends that we've made over the years at Carolina Bible Camp.
Yeah.
Closer than our real family almost.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. It's not on our little sheet that I gave you, but I'm going to throw this one on you. How many people or how many weddings have you done from kids from camp over the years?
Oh, some preachers keep track of those kinds of things. I've never kept track, but probably I think it's safe to say I've done at least a dozen weddings. Just
from kids.
Yeah, probably more. You know, I don't know. Probably more when it's not, but at least a dozen weddings, if not more. But and one in particular was incredibly memorable. That was Chuck and Leanne Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the second longest wedding I've ever done. And we still laugh about this. It was at camp, outside at the amphitheater in August.
Yeah.
And it lasted an hour and 25 minutes.
Oh wow. You're sitting right in the sun down there too, aren't you?
Yeah, it was memorable.
All right. It's kind of like Sam Norman saying the prayer at our wedding. It was like 5.5 minutes long.
Chuck and I and we still get some chuckles out of that. No pun intended, Chuck.
Yeah, there you go.
Get it? You see what I did right there? Chuckles, Chuck. Yeah. Jeffrey would be so proud of me.
He would be. Yes, that's a Jeffrey joke right there. All right. So this next question is going to be hard for you to give an answer to, but that's share a favorite memory you have from Carolina Bible Camp.
Oh man, you know there's probably only about 100,000 of those, literally. And they're, you know, you do so many years, especially as a director, and truth is, one year kind of runs into the next. I have a favorite memory, I think, as a camper, and one as a director. One as a camper, I remember it was I just graduated high school, and was getting ready to go off to Lipscomb, and this is the summer 1972, up at Camp Haines, and they had a beautiful amphitheater up there at Camp Haines, and we were sitting out there for late night Devo, and the speaker was a youth minister from a church in the Winston area at that time. And I remember, I can't tell you what he was talking about, but I remember sitting there and just being convicted in my heart and coming to the realization, I got to get serious about living for Jesus. I mean, I've been a hypocrite. I've been going to church 3 times a week, but not honoring Jesus with my life the rest of the time. And that was the moment when my life, baptized at 12, now I was 17, and that was the moment though that it really finally clicked, and it was at camp. Yeah.
Story to have.
Yeah.
Huh. Now, you said you had one other one other than the.
Well, this one was probably as so many as a director, but probably I think the year 2001. It was it was a controversial year. Our theme was worship, and you know, we experimented with different elements of worship, you know, encouraged the kids to experience some freedom, and won't go into all that. But you know, it probably got me in the most trouble I've ever been in my whole life. You know, but it was such an amazing week. And the interesting thing was, Andy, with all of the conversations and all the fallout from that week at camp afterwards, nobody ever said a thing about the 21 baptisms we had that week.
Awesome.
Including a kid who came to camp with a longtime camper, a kid who claimed to be an atheist, who was baptized during that week.
Yeah. That's when we're challenged the most and learned the most, isn't it?
Yeah, but that was the most memorable week, and probably the most powerful week of camp that I've ever experienced. The heart of worship was the theme.
It's a good one. Wow. Well, when you sit there and you think back over the years, you've had plenty of kids that come into camp, and you notice that they are scared. They don't want to be there. They've never experienced camp or the love of camp, you know, or the love of the people of camp. And here they are, their first day there at camp. How do you reassure them?
Um, I know you may not see them. I may not see them the first day. The counselors see that in them before I do.
Yeah.
And I, I always try to meet kids on that first day. And whenever I meet a kid who's there for the first time, I really want to encourage them. And sometimes you can pick up on one that's a little nervous about it. But usually I hear from the parents first. The parents are more nervous than the kids are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
they want to tell us all about, little Bobby and everything. Hey, we'll take care of them. We take care of them. And so usually it's the parents that have to reassure on Sunday. But then during the week when, the counselors will come to you with somebody, hey, this kid's having a hard time stomach going home. Would you talk with them? And, you've been there and trying to talk a kid out of being homesick. And sometimes you can do it and sometimes you can't. You just got to let them go home. But it always breaks your heart. But you encourage them to come back the next year. But the main thing is just when you find someone like that, just rather than trying to deflect or dismiss their feelings, you have to honor their feelings. You have to recognize their feelings, their fear, their apprehension, and you got to be real with them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be real with them and dealing with what they're feeling. And sometimes that gets them through. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So I can remember the first time I ever had to send a kid home from camp because of his acting. He was acting out and everything, and that broke my heart. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. You never want to do that because that this is probably the best place in the world for them to be at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tough. Well, when you think back over the years of the staff members and campers that you've seen and worked with, is there a particular staff member or camper or multiple that stand out?
Oh, wow. Well, of course, there's H.R. Butler. There's H.R. I remember maybe I've been at camp, maybe it's my fourth year, fifth year. And as I said, back in those days, to a young kid, H.R. was a little intimidating. And I remember on Saturday, we're getting ready to go home. And I'm walking with my parents to the car, and up comes walking H.R. Butler. And he stopped and he spoke to me, talked to me, asked me if I had a good week and all. Of course, he didn't remember didn't know my name, but still, H.R. Butler stopped and talked to me. Yeah. And I went home. I was on cloud 9, and of course, who knew years later he would become, almost like a second father to me. So there's H.R. There was a preacher by the name of Howard Winters.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Howard, who I met him as a young camper, but years later when I went into preaching, he was a mentor to me and so many other younger preachers, and had tremendous influence on my life. And of course, it was at camp that I met people like Johnny Melton, who's still, perhaps my closest friend, and who's had a great impact in a lot of ways. And so many other staff, Jeffrey Sykes, campers who became staff members. So many campers, I don't even want to start listing them. There are campers like Melissa Harris, who years later, had a terrible car wreck on her way home from Lipscomb, a traumatic brain injury. But as a camper, she just stood out. Her brother Todd, who's now a staff member. Oh my gosh, just so many people. People like Brittany Mills, who's on our staff now. Brittany Sullivan, and on. And I don't even want to get started because I want to leave somebody out. Hurt somebody's feelings, and just so many. Matt Hudson, Chuck Taylor, and just on and I don't know. Don't get me started.
You see Chuck Taylor's list that he had? When I asked him that question, he went down a whole list of people.
Yeah.
Well, this is it's a true honor for me to be able to spend a few minutes with you talking about Carolina Bible Camp. As I said earlier in the beginning of this, you are thought of very highly and appreciated.
Well, again, it depends on who you ask.
Well, well, I wanted to say that I thank you for your many years of service and your dedication, not just to Carolina Bible Camp, but to serving our kids and teaching them the gospel. That's what all this is about. And you've done it for so many years. And I just appreciate that, brother. And I hope that we have many more years together. We've got a lot of work to do. There's a lot more kids out there that need to hear the gospel. And, with this 49 days of CBC, we're just trying to remind people about the beautiful thing at Carolina Bible Camp. And yes, it's a great facility, but what makes it so special are people like you. And I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Oh, real quick, can I mention one other camper?
Yes.
In 1975, Jeffrey and I met a camper. She was our table server in the dining hall that week. A young lady, she was 15, I think. Her name was Sherry Arnold.
Who was that? No.
Sherry Arnold. And then the next year, my wife Terry came and she met Sherry. And even though there was a 5-year age difference, they became, just close friends. And of course, Sherry came back and worked for many, many years on my staff, week 6 as my craft director. And Terry, we lost Terry in 2010. And then a year later, she always wanted me to get married again. And then a year later, at camp, Sherry and I just got to talking. We were talking on Monday night at camp, and we talked. Is anybody else listening?
I don't know. It's just two of us right now.
Okay. We talked all the way through worship that evening.
Ooh.
We missed worship, and the next night, on the Tuesday night, I sent her a text. I felt like a high school kid all over again. I felt just as goofy then as I did, back in high school, and sent her a text, and we started seeing each other. And in November that year, 2011, Sherry and I got married. But I met her first at Carolina Bible Camp.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of blessings come from there, don't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the final question that I've been asking everybody, and I know this will be hard for you just like everybody else. If there's something you could say to your staff and to the campers that would have been there this year, what would you say to them to reassure them and just to kind of let them know that you love them?
So to all my week 6 people, man, I miss you guys. Miss you guys this year. We're still talking, several of us. Miss you, but just know this. We're going to come back next year, 2021, stronger than ever. And we're going to change some lives.
Amen. Well, Dennis, thank you for this time. I know you're like me. You got a big hole in your heart right now because we're not going to have camp.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. Just thank you.
Thank you, Andy. It's always love to talk about CBC. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Well, you take care of yourself, and we're going to be back next year. Like you say, it's going to be better than ever. What a joy it'll be, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy.
See you, man.
Okay.